Lieutenant Commander Vexther stood at the entrance of Advanced Tactical Combat. Section 12, watching his Predator cadets file into the training hall with their usual swagger, razor-sharp claws clicking against metal floors, scales gleaming under fluorescent lights, mandibles chittering with anticipation. This was the elite class, the cream of the Galactic Military Academy, reserved for species who had evolved to hunt, to kill, to dominate. Then she walked in. Human female, approximately 20 cycles old by his estimation, carrying a data pad and wearing the standard cadet uniform that somehow looked 3 sizes too big on her soft prey species frame. She had brown hair pulled back into what humans called a ponytail, and her eyes, those forward-facing eyes that still unsettled him despite 3 years of human integration into the academy, scanned the room with what could only be described as mild confusion. Vexther's secondary hearts both skipped a beat. "Excuse me," he hissed, his serpentine tongue flickering out in agitation. "You human, this is advanced tactical combat, predator species only. Your remedial defensive training is in Building C, 3 sectors over." She looked down at her data pad, then back up at him, then around at the assembled cadets who were now staring at her with expressions ranging from amusement to hunger, quite literally hunger in the case of Kravik, the Drenthi, whose species had only stopped eating sentient beings 40 years ago. She said, and her voice had that peculiar musical quality that human females possessed. "My schedule says Room 47, Building 9. Advanced Tactical Combat, 0900 hours. Is this not Room 47? "This is Room 47, Vexther confirmed, feeling a headache forming behind his ocular ridges. "But there has clearly been an administrative error. Humans are not qualified for this level of combat training. You barely have claws, your jaw strength is pathetic, and your reaction time is, by comparison to every species in this room, laughably slow." The human, according to the data pad he now snatched from her hands, was named Rebecca Kim, transfer student from Earth's Pacific Defense Academy. Tactical theory, honors xenobiology. Excellent hand-to-hand combat. Proficient against other humans, perhaps against a Crohan battle master or a thanks warrior. She would be paced. "Look," Rebecca said, taking her data pad back with surprising firmness, "I know there is probably some mistake, but I have been trying to sort out my schedule for 3 days now, and the administration office keeps sending me automated responses. Can I just sit in today while we figure this out? I promise I will stay out of the way." Several of the Predator cadets laughed. It was not a pleasant sound. "Oh, let the little mammal stay," rumbled Torgan, a massive Krell whose species had conquered 17 star systems before joining the Galactic Council. "It will be entertaining to watch during sparring exercises." Vexther's training as an instructor weared with his common sense. Regulations stated that any cadet with proper credentials could attend a class pending administrative review, but every instinct he possessed screamed that putting this fragile human in a room with his most aggressive students was a recipe for disaster, paperwork, and quite possibly an interstellar incident. "Fine," he finally hissed, "but you will observe only, no participation until this is sorted out. Sit there." He pointed to a bench at the far end of the training hall. Rebecca nodded, moving to the bench with a kind of fluid grace that Vexther noted despite himself. Predators moved in one of two ways. Either the coiled tension of ambush, hunters, or the steady prowl of pursuit. Predators' prey species scurred, but humans moved like they could not quite decide what they were supposed to be. Right then, Vexthor announced, activating the holographic training interface. Today we continue advanced combat scenarios. You have all completed the individual assessment trials. Now we move to team-based tactical situations. You will be divided into hunting packs of 4. Your objective is to track and neutralize a hostile target in an urban environment while avoiding civilian casualties. The cadets chittered and growled with enthusiasm. This was what they had been bred for, trained for, evolved for over millions of years. Vexthor began assigning teams, carefully balancing the various species and their capabilities. Kraken Heavy clears throat assault with Frank stealth specialists, Drenthi trackers with V-Tauren strategists. It was a delicate art, creating balanced units from cadets who, in the wild, might very well eat each other. He was 3 teams in when the holographic system chimed. Administrative override. He looked down at his instructor console and felt both his secondary hearts stop completely. This time, Rebecca Kim had been automatically enrolled in the course, full participation authorized, academic standing eligible for all activities. Oh, for the love of the first spawn, he muttered. Sir, Rebecca called out from her bench. My data pad just updated. It says I am cleared for participation. Every predator head in the room swiveled toward her. Kravik was drooling. Actually drooling. It appears, Vexthor said slowly, that the administration has spoken. Very well, Rebecca Kim, you will join Team 7. Try not to die. Team 7 consisted of Rex, a crowhan whose temper was as legendary as his combat scores. Eslith, a thanks female with reflexes that tested off the standard charts. Varric, a Drenthi tracker who could smell fear from 300 meters, and now apparently one very off-place human. Rebecca stood and walked over to her new team. They stared down at her. She was barely tall enough to reach Rex's chest plates, and he was not even particularly large for a Kraken. Hi, she said brightly. I am Rebecca. I guess we are teammates. We are predators, Rex growled. You are prey. This is not a team. This is a tragedy waiting to happen. Okay, well, that is a bit harsh, Rebecca replied. And Vexthor had to admire her composure. But let us see how it goes. Yeah. Vexthor initialized the first scenario. The holographic environment materialized around them, a dense urban setting based on the capital city of Theos Prime. Multiple levels, narrow corridors, civilian holograms moving through the street. Somewhere in this maze was their target, a simulated terrorist, armed with stolen military weapons. Standard rules apply, Vexthor announced. Track and neutralize the target. Minimize collateral damage. You have 30 minutes. Begin. The teams dispersed into the holographic city. Vexthor pulled up the monitoring displays, watching multiple viewpoints simultaneously. This was always his favorite part, seeing how the cadets applied their training under pressure. Team 1, led by the brilliant but arrogant Thosk, was already moving in a classic pincer formation. Team 2 had split into hunter pairs, covering more ground. Team 3 was predictably charging straight down the main avenue because they were all Krello, and subtlety was not their strong suit. He switched to Team 7's feed and Immediately winced. Rex was arguing with Slith about the optimal search pattern. Varric was sniffing the air in 3 different directions, unable to commit to a course. And Rebecca was just standing there looking up at the holographic buildings with her data pad. Out, this is a disaster, Vexther muttered. She will be dead in 5 minutes, commented Instructor Krina. Battle cards who taught weapon systems. She had wandered over to watch the exercise. Want to make it interesting? I wager 10 credits she gets eliminated before the halfway mark. I do not bet against certainties. Vexther replied, look at her, she is not even moving. On the screen, Rebecca had apparently tired of waiting for her team to stop arguing. She tapped something on her data pad, then started walking down a side alley with purpose. Where is she going? Krina leaned in closer. Rex noticed Rebecca's departure and snarled, where do you think you are going, human? Rebecca did not look back. I found him. You found what? Silith hissed. The target. He is in the industrial sector, 4th Subble Eastern Quadrant. Rebecca kept walking her pace. Steady but not rushed, that is impossible. Varric snorted. I have not even picked up a scent trail yet, and my olfactory sensors are rated for 500 m in optimal conditions. Well, I looked at the scenario parameters, Rebecca said, still not slowing down. Urban environment, civilian population, terrorist with military weapons. He needs somewhere defensible but with multiple escape routes, access to power for his weapons, and low enough traffic that he would not be spotted immediately, but enough that he could blend in if needed. The industrial sector has all of that, and the 4th Subble is the only area that connects to the old transit tunnels. If I were him, that is where I would be. Vexther and Krina stared at the monitor. In silence, she reasoned it out. Krina said softly, she did not track him. She thought about where he would logically be. That is cheating, Vexther said. But even as he said it, he knew it was not. It was just a completely different approach than any predator species would take. They tracked, they hunted, they followed instinct and sensory input. Humans apparently just thought really hard about things. Team 7 was now following Rebecca, mainly because they had no better plan and also because Rex did not want to be shown up by a prey species. They moved through the holographic city with increasing speed. As Rebecca's confidence seemed to infect them, she was right. Of course, the target was exactly where she said he would be, a holographic figure in tactical armor holding a plasma rifle in a defensive position inside a maintenance hub. There, Rebecca whispered, pointing. I see him, Silith confirmed. Rex, you and Varric go left. I will take right. Human, you stay here and try not to get shot. Actually, Rebecca said, I have an idea. No. Rex said flatly, we do this properly. Predator tactics, we flank, we close, we strike. That is how it is done. Sure. Rebecca agreed, but he has a plasma rifle with approximately 40 shots remaining based on the power pack visible on his hip. You 3 are going to give him perfect firing lanes. When you rush him, he will get at least 1 of you, probably 2, before you close the distance. Or, and hear me out, I could just walk up and talk to him. What? All 3 predators said it simultaneously. He is waiting for threats, Rebecca explained patiently. Big scary predators trying to kill him. I am small, non-threatening, and if I approach from the civilian corridor with my hands up, His tactical programming will hesitate, because shooting an unarmed civilian creates complications. That gives you 3, maybe 2 extra seconds to close in while he is distracted and confused. Silith's mandibles clicked in thought. That is the stupidest plan I have ever heard. Agreed, Varric added. It will absolutely get you killed, Rex finished. Rebecca shrugged. Maybe, but I ran the probability matrices, and we have a 73% success rate with my plan versus 41% with a direct assault. Plus, this way none of you get shot, which I assume is preferable. She calculated odds, Krino whispered to Vexther in her head during a combat scenario. Humans are good at math, Vexther replied. Weakly, Rex looked at his teammates, then back at Rebecca. If you die, I am not filling out the incident reports. Fair enough, Rebecca said, and then, before anyone could stop her, she walked out into the open area. The target's holographic head snapped toward her. Immediately, weapon raised, targeting laser painting her chest. Hi there, Rebecca called out, hands very visibly raised above her head. I am just a lost cadet, very lost, totally unarmed. Please do not shoot me, because that would be terrible for everyone, especially me. Vexther could not watch. He looked away from the screen. Is she dead yet? He asked. No, Krina said, her voice filled with disbelief. The target is hesitating. He is doing exactly what she said. He is confused. Anyway, Rebecca continued, her voice carrying across the holographic space. I was wondering if you could point me toward the exit, because I am really lost. And also, oh, now 3 things happened simultaneously. Rebecca dropped flat to the ground. Slith appeared from the right corridor, moving at speeds that blurred on camera. Rex charged from the left like a freight train made of muscle and rage. Varric came over the top of a maintenance stack in a perfect predatory pounce. The target managed to fire exactly 1 shot, which went high over Rebecca's head. Because she was already prone, then he was buried under 300 kg of extremely irritated predator cadets. Target neutralized. The holographic system announced Team 7 mission success. Time 8 minutes 43 seconds. Civilian casualties 0, team damage 0. Efficiency rating exceptional. Vexther stared at the screen where Rebecca was standing up, brushing holographic dust off her uniform while her teammates extracted themselves from the pile. That was crazy, Slith said, but there was something like respect in her clicking voice. That was brilliant, Varric corrected. Insane but brilliant. Rex just looked at Rebecca for a long moment. You used yourself as bait. I used myself as a distraction, Rebecca corrected. Bait implies I was in actual danger, but I knew you 3 would not let anything happen to me, because that would make your team look bad. Also, you seem like decent people, or well, decent beings, so there is that too. We are predators, Rex said, but his tone was different. Now we are not decent, we are dangerous. You can be both, Rebecca replied simply. The other teams were still working on their scenarios. Team 3 had caused 17 civilian casualties. Team 5 had not even found their target yet. Team 7 had completed the exercise in record time with a perfect score. Run scenario 2, Krina said quietly. I want to see if that was luck. It was not luck. Scenario 2 involved hostage rescue from a fortified position. Rebecca suggested using the environmental systems to pump in harmless but irritating gas to force the hostage takers into the open. Scenario 3 was a pursuit across rooftops. Rebecca pointed out that the target was leaving a trail of disturbed dust, particles that could be tracked visually, without relying on scent. Scenario 4 was an ambush situation. Rebecca somehow calculated the optimal crossfire positions using nothing but angles and probability. By the end of the class period, Team 7 had completed 7 scenarios. The next best team had finished 3, and every single one of Team 7's missions was rated exceptional. The other cadets were staring now, not with hunger anymore, with something else, something that might have been respect or might have been fear. Vexer was not entirely sure which. Class dismissed, he announced, still trying to process what he had witnessed. The Predator cadets filed out, talking in low growls and hisses. Team 7 left together, Rex still looking at Rebecca like she was a puzzle he could not solve. Rebecca was the last one out. She stopped at Vexer's station, so she said, "Does this mean the administrative error is resolved? Can I stay in the class?" Vexer looked at this small, soft, technically prey species cadet who had just outperformed every Predator in his advanced combat course. "I think," he said slowly, "that you were exactly where you were supposed to be all along." Rebecca smiled. It was a strange expression, showing flat prey species teeth, but somehow it made Vexer's scales itch with instinctive weariness. "Great," she said. "See you next week, Lieutenant Commander." She walked out, and Vexer sat down heavily in his instructor chair. "I need to update the curriculum," he muttered to himself. "Why?" Krina asked. "Because," Vexer said, pulling up the class roster and seeing Rebecca Kim's name now permanently listed. "I have a feeling she is just getting started." 3 weeks later, Vexer was seriously considering early retirement. The problem was not that Rebecca Kim was failing. The problem was that she was succeeding in ways that made absolutely no sense according to every military doctrine he had studied in his 40 years of service. Week 2, she had somehow convinced Kravik, the giant Drenthi, who still occasionally looked at smaller species like menu items, to try what she called stealth tactics. Kravik, who weighed 200 kg and had claws that could rend steel, managed to complete an infiltration scenario without being detected once. His method, as suggested by Rebecca, involved moving in sync with ambient noise patterns and using reflective surfaces to check corners instead of just barreling through them like a wrecking ball with teeth. Week 3, she had taught half the class basic probability assessment. Now, Predator cadets who used to rely purely on instinct were calculating blast radiuses and optimal firing solutions like tiny furry mathematicians. But today was the final examination before the midterm evaluation boards. Full combat simulation against Instructor Krina's advanced class, live. Weapons set to training intensity, no holds barred, winner takes bragging rights for the entire semester, and more. Importantly, first selection for the prestigious summer combat internships. With actual fleet units, Vexer watched his class assemble in the main training arena. 50 cadets divided into 2 companies. Rebecca stood with Team 7, which had become something of a legend in the past weeks. Rex Eslith and Varric had gone from reluctant babysitters to fiercely protective teammates. They currently glared at anyone who looked at Rebecca wrong. which was hilarious considering she was the one who usually got them out of trouble. Across the arena, Krina's class assembled. They looked confident, dangerous, ready. Her star pupil, thanks named Zayx, had won the last 3 combat tournaments. He moved like liquid death, and his tactical scores were the highest in Academy history. Until Rebecca showed up and quietly broke every single one of his records. Zayx did not appreciate that. Cadets. Vexther announced, his voice amplified across the arena. This is a full-scale combat simulation. 2 companies, urban warfare environment, multiple objectives, capture and hold 3 strategic points for 10 minutes each, or eliminate the opposing force entirely. Rules of engagement are live. Medical teams are standing by, and if anyone dies, I will personally resurrect you. Just to fail you, understood? Sir, yes, sir, came the thunderous response. Take positions, Krina commanded from her side. The holographic environment materialized, a sprawling cityscape with buildings, vehicles, obstacles, and enough complexity to make even experienced soldiers nervous. The 2 companies moved to their starting zones on opposite sides of the simulation. Vexther pulled up the command view, showing all units as colored markers on a tactical display. Blue for his cadets, red for Krina's. Want to make that bit now? Krina asked, settling into the observation station beside him. Which bet would that be? Vexther replied, watching Rebecca pull out her data pad while her company commanders, 2 senior Krohan cadets named Vorth and Kelix, started shouting orders. That your little human survives the first 5 minutes, Rena said with a predatory grin. No bet, Vexther said, but I will wager 50 credits that my class wins overall. Krina's grin widened. You are on. The simulation timer started immediately. Krina's force split into 3 groups. Classic predator tactics, overwhelming force applied to multiple points simultaneously. They were bigger, more experienced, and frankly more terrifying than Vexther's cadets. Vor and Kelix were arguing about which strategic point to hit first. When Rebecca cleared her throat, excuse me, she said politely, I have a thought. Not now, human, Vor growled. This is real combat. We need to move fast, hit hard, establish dominance. Right, totally, Rebecca agreed, except Krina's class is expecting that. Look at their formation. They are setting up to counter exactly that strategy. See how Zayx positioned his squad. He is baiting us toward Point Alpha because it looks vulnerable, but he has overlapping fire lanes that will shred anyone who tries to take it directly. Kelix looked at the tactical display, then at Rebecca. How did you analyze their deployment in 30 seconds? Pattern recognition, Rebecca shrugged. Also, Zayx is really good, but he is predictable. He always prioritizes high ground and crossfire positions, which means she tapped her data pad, highlighting sections of the map. These areas are probably undermanned because he cannot be everywhere at once. Silith clicked her mandibles thoughtfully. She has a point. The human always has a point, Rex grumbled. The question is whether we are smart enough to listen. Vor looked at his co-commander, then at Rebecca, then at the tactical display. Every instinct probably told him to charge forward, to trust in speed and violence, but he had also watched Team 7's performance scores climb week after week. What do you suggest? He asked. Carefully, Rebecca smiled, and Vexther noticed several nearby cadets unconsciously take a step back. They were learning that when the small human smiled like that, something unpredictable was about to happen. We do not fight like predators, Rebecca said. We fight like humans. Meaning what exactly? Kellix demanded. Meaning we cheat, Rebecca replied. Cheerfully, Orwell. Not cheat exactly, but we use every advantage we have that they are not expecting. They think we will hunt them. Instead, we make them hunt us. On ground we choose with rules we set. We turn this from a battle into a puzzle. And humans are really, really good at puzzles. 15 minutes later, Krina leaned forward. In her observation seat, what are they doing? Vexter was wondering the same thing. Instead of attacking any of the strategic points the Blue Force had broken into small units and scattered throughout the city, they were not hiding exactly, but they were not engaging either. They were just moving, repositioning, setting up what looked like random equipment. Is this a retreat? Krina asked. I do not think so, Beaks, Thor said slowly, watching Rebecca's marker moving with Team 7 toward what appeared to be an abandoned commercial sector. Zayx was getting frustrated. Vexer could see it in how the Red Force kept repositioning, trying to find an enemy to fight. They held all 3 strategic points, but without anyone attacking them. They were essentially just standing around looking dangerous. Then the first trap sprung. A full squad of Krina's cadets moved through an intersection and triggered what appeared to be a remotely detonated barricade. Not dangerous, just suddenly blocking their path while they were figuring out how to go around. Smoke grenades deployed from hidden positions, filling the street with obscuring clouds. When the smoke cleared, the squad found themselves surrounded by holographic civilian avatars, all programmed to act panicked and run in random directions. The cadets could not shoot without risking massive civilian casualty penalties, and by the time they pushed through the crowd, 3 of them had been tagged by training rounds from completely unexpected angles. She turned the civilians into obstacles, Krina said, disbelief coloring her voice. Another red squad tried to move toward Point Beta and found the street flooded with slippery foam from fire suppression systems that someone had hacked. They slipped, slid, and generally made fools of themselves, while Blue Force snipers tagged them from elevated positions. A third group got lured into a building with what looked like an easy ambush opportunity, only to have every door sealed behind them. They were not trapped. The doors opened again after 2 minutes. But by then the tactical situation had completely changed. This is not combat, Zypex snarled over the command channel. This is juvenile trickery. This is asymmetric warfare. Rebecca's voice came back calm and clear. You are stronger, faster, and better armed, so we changed the game to one where that matters less. Also, you might want to check Point Alpha. Zayek spun his tactical view to Point Alpha, the strategic position his best squad was holding, except they were not holding it anymore. While everyone was distracted by the chaos in the streets, Team 7 plus 2 other squads had used the underground maintenance tunnels to come up directly beneath the point. By the time Zayek's squad realized what was happening, they were already tagged out. One strategic point captured by Blue Force, the simulation announced. Krina made a strangled sound. The battle, if you could call it that, continued for another 20 minutes. Every time Krina's force tried to mount a proper assault, they found themselves dealing with environmental complications, civilian interference, or attacks from completely unexpected vectors. Rebecca had apparently spent her preparation time mapping every tunnel, every service corridor, every access point in the entire simulation. She was not fighting with claws and teeth, she was fighting with information and creativity. Point Beta fell when Blue Force simply sealed all the approaches and waited for the defending squad to get so bored they made mistakes. Point Charlie was taken by a frontal assault, but only after Rebecca had repositioned so many obstacles that the defenders had exactly one firing angle, which happened to be covered by 8 Blue Force snipers. When the simulation ended, the score was devastating. Blue Force held all 3 objectives, had taken fewer than 10 casualties, and had inflicted nearly 70% losses on Red Force without ever engaging in a single fair fight. Zayek stood in the center of the arena, his mandibles clicking in fury. You did not fight, you hid, you tricked, you manipulated the environment. That is not honorable combat. Rebecca walked up to him. She barely reached his thorax, but somehow she did not look small. You are absolutely right, she said. It was not honorable. It was effective. And in real combat, against actual enemies who want you dead, effectiveness matters more than honor. You were stronger than us, so we made strength irrelevant. That is how humans fight. We adapt, we improvise, we use every single advantage we can find or create, because unlike you, we did not evolve to be apex predators. We evolved to be survivors. She turned to address the assembled cadets from both classes. Every species here is naturally better at combat than humans. You have claws, we have fingernails. You have armor plating, we have soft skin. You have instincts honed over millions of years of hunting. We have anxiety and the ability to worry about things that have not happened yet, but you know what else we have. We have the capacity to look at a situation where we should lose and figure out how to win anyway. We have creativity, adaptability, and a truly impressive ability to be spiteful. When someone tells us we cannot do something, Rex snorted with what might have been laughter. So yes, Rebecca continued, we cheated, sort of. We used every rule, every loophole, every environmental factor we could find, and we won because that is what you do when you are outmatched. You change the game. The arena was silent. Then slowly one cadet started clicking their mandibles in approval, then another, then more. Within seconds, both classes were making their species-specific sound of respect and acknowledgement. Even Zayek, after a long moment, inclined his head. You have taught me something today, human. I do not like it, but I respect it. Good enough, Rebecca said, extending her hand. Want to get lunch? I hear the cafeteria has those synthetic protein cubes you guys like. Zex looked at her hand, then carefully grasped it with his manipulator claw. I would find that acceptable. As the cadets filed out, talking excitedly about the simulation, Krina turned to Vex Thor. I believe you won our wager, she said, transferring 50 credits with obvious reluctance. I did, Beaks Thor agreed, though I confess, even I did not expect that level of tactical creativity. She is going to revolutionize how we teach combat, Krina said thoughtfully. You realize that, correct? Every assumption we have made about Predator Superiority in warfare just got challenged by a 20-year-old human who probably weighs less than my rifle. Vexter watched Rebecca leave with her team, Rax and Eslith, arguing about some technical point while Varric tried to explain scent tracking to her again, even though she kept telling him humans could not smell like that. Good, he said. Finally, perhaps we needed challenging. We have been so focused on teaching cadets to be better predators that we forgot to teach them to be better soldiers. Rebecca did not win because she was strong or fast or fierce. She won because she thought about the problem differently than anyone else in that arena. Do you think other species will start adopting human tactics? Krina asked. I think, Vexter said, pulling up Rebecca's academic file and seeing nothing but exceptional ratings across every category that the galactic military is about to get very interesting. 6 months later, Rebecca Kim graduated. Top of her class, not top of the human cadets, top of the entire academy. Across all species, all specializations, all disciplines, her thesis on asymmetric warfare doctrine became required reading for officer candidates. Team 7 stayed together requesting joint assignments. They were sent to the frontier where tensions with an aggressive neighboring power were escalating. Vexer received a message from Rex 3 months into their deployment. Instructor. It read, "You will be pleased to know that Rebecca has successfully negotiated a ceasefire between two warring factions that have hated each other for 300 years. She did this by challenging both sides to a competitive baking contest and then pointing out that if they could cooperate long enough to properly cream butter and sugar, they could probably manage a peace treaty. I do not understand how her mind works, but I am grateful to be on her side. Also, she makes excellent cookies." Rax out. Vexter read the message 3 times, then forwarded it to Krina with the subject line, "I told you she was just getting started." That night, sitting in his quarters, Vexter updated his instructor notes for next semester's Advanced Tactical Combat course. He added a new section titled Human Problem-Solving Methodologies and made a note to himself to recruit more human cadets, not because humans were stronger or faster or more dangerous than predator species, but because sometimes the best way to win was not to be the biggest predator in the room. Sometimes the best way to win was to be the one who realized you did not have to play by predator rules at all. Rebecca Kim had not joined the wrong class by accident. She had walked into a room full of the galaxy's most dangerous predators and shown them that there was more than one way to be dangerous, and in doing so she had not just outperformed every predator cadet, she had taught them something far more valuable than combat techniques or tactical formations. She had taught them that evolution gave them claws and teeth and armor, but creativity, adaptability, and sheer stubborn determination to succeed against impossible odds. Those were choices, and any species could choose to be better, smarter, more effective than their biology suggested they should be. The human had joined Advanced Tactical Combat and changed everything. Vexter looked forward to seeing what she would change.